inside. Yeah, we'll be breaking down all the plays. Your soul's carrying the boom or train. Then we'll be breaking down all the plays.
Welcome everyone to the APL Insider. I'm your host Gadarian, and tonight joining me on my left we have fellow caster Gumo Train.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So Gumo, I'm kind of a staple, I guess you could say, in the Hell Let Loose community. Been doing this for about 2 years, and love doing it, obviously. But you're kind of a new to this scene, so maybe you want to share with the audience at home, you know, how you ended up in the casting booth.
I mean, at the moment, I've got about 1,000 or so hours into the game, so I'm not new to the game, but I just kind of started casting live streams of myself streaming, and I met with some other streamers, and then I started casting 6v6s for NZN, and then some TNL, and finally now some ECL and APL.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier a very, well, he's kind of semi-retired, I want to say, a guy by the name of Mono Spatial.
Yes. So that's actually what got me into Hell Let Loose in the first place. Was I came across one of his castings. I think it was 82 AD that he was casting, and instantly fell in love with the game, with the giant maps and the big team-based battles. I couldn't wait to play it, and once I played it, I couldn't wait to stream it.
Yeah, it draws you in, and you're hooked. And here I'm almost 5 years, a little over 5 years actually, of playing and casting. So let's hope we get another 5 years out of this game. So anyway, moving forward though, I want to give a special shout out and thanks to the Orga for putting together this third installment of the APL. The tournament wouldn't be the way it is without all the hard work of a lot of people behind the scenes, like Velo. Velo is the guy who was able to acquire 5 servers from our sponsor Kwanzaa, and thank you for that. I mean, you've made the casters' lives a whole lot easier, the ability to be in camera and test all our settings and check the new overlays. And when I speak of overlays, I'm talking about the guy behind the scenes doing all your beautiful graphics that you see going on right now, a guy by the name of Axe Hawk. He's got this awesome program called Singular, and it's a web-based program that allows all this stuff to come up, and we can update real time. So hopefully you guys at home are enjoying all this wonderful effort that we put in. And I'm sure the teams are putting the time in and getting ready for this big season. So speaking of season, we're going to get into the highlights in a little bit, Goom. So you got a couple highlights. I've got a couple highlights. So we're gonna
Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into that, and we're gonna break it down, and we're also gonna have some guests come on, and they're going to share their insight on how the matches went and how we did it in the interest of time. We took one team from each division and tried to just spotlight them. So we're trying to pack this all into about 30 minutes so you guys can get a gist of what's happening. And if you like what we're doing, we're going to do it every week just to keep the community informed. So with that, let's just dive into the Division 4. All right, let's get into the highlights from the opening weekend. We had 10th Mountain taking on Cobras from Montes, a Brazilian team on St. Maraglice. Your caster was Wix with co-casters Ya and your mother's mom. Okay, now before we break down, joining us this evening, we have a very special guest from the 10th Mountain. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Colonel Matthews.
Hey, Gadarian, it is a absolute pleasure of mine to be here today.
Absolutely, but I'm glad you're here. We're going to get right into it. So the match, let's talk about the opener. Tell us about the opener. Hospice was the midpoint. A definite favor for Axis. Tell me what was going through your mind when you saw that midpoint come up.
As you said, Hospice is definitely a pretty heavy Axis leaning point for SME. You have like SME kind of favors allies, checkpoints kind of 50-50. But pretty much how we try to approach a point like that, a lot of people like to focus just on the strong point since it does kind of favor the Axis with the 3-story. And a lot of teams seem to forget that like there's still the rest of the 4 grids that need to be played.
Exactly. Sector. Got you.
As long as both teams are equal, and if you're Axis and you're pushing in, like you're not getting like totally out fragged, like just having like a handful of guys in strong point while you play the rest of it out.
So you were able to capture reasonably easy within the first 4 minutes of the gate dropping. And it stayed that way up until about the 51st minute, where CF was able to fight their way back in and narrowly recapturing Hospice. They dropped an airhead, which I'm not sure if you were aware of, but they got that point to about 98% capped. I mean, I need to know what it was like on your head, comms and whatnot. And do you think you would have captured or recaptured that point had the airhead not been destroyed?
First off, a lot of credit given to Pedro Camper. My man managed to like sneak in there because of his being able to hold out for a while. That pretty much gave their commander the confidence to drop that airhead. We were not aware that one was dropped. I think that's kind of like a lack of or a lapse in focus from like our defensive teams. But how it looked and how it played out, obviously we were very concerned. We pretty quickly realized like where it was at once we kind of had control over the rest of the 4 grids. And when we saw they still had cap progress, we're like, okay, there's only one spot this thing could possibly be. And give them credit, they were able to kind of defend it for a while. Although we did have a couple guys walk like right past it.
You did see that. You saw one of the guys, Wicks, called that out. And that was so hilarious. You just ran right past the airhead and then got blown up by artillery. But
and
somebody was able to throw a frag on it and destroy it in time, which I think actually saved the point. They didn't get another spawn off. I think that would have been a problem had they got that
I
final
think
spawn.
Yeah, I mean it probably would have actually flipped it in their favor had they gotten a spawn off. But I also believe that since we had like almost complete control like everywhere else in the 4 grids and a lot of squad leads up at that point, that it would not have been like, I don't think they would have possessed that point for very long unless they had people like already pressuring next point like substantially.
So speaking of, well, we're going to go ahead, I guess, fast forward to this weekend. We have you guys playing Compañía Malditas, a new team to competition. Just want to know how you guys are preparing for that, and what concern, if any, do you have about this team?
Well, they're the only other team in D4 that got a 5-0 against Condor Legion. Not saying that, just because they beat people like as bad as we did or whatever, that makes them like, equal or inferior or superior. But our guys in 10th need to realize that this week is probably going to be tougher than last week, and give CF all the credit in the world. They did everything they possibly could to not get 5-0'd.
Yeah,
And
it's strange how that whole turn of events happened, but yeah, it was much closer than it looks, on paper.
yeah, and and give them credit. I mean, they fought their ass off. Like this, them coming in week 1, they don't want to lose, and they tried everything they could to win.
Right on. So,
well,
sorry. Quick question before I let you go. I know you got things you got to do, but the map, do you have that? Do you have the time? Do you have all the details, I guess?
Yeah, it'll be 5:30 p.m. Eastern this Saturday. Crazily enough, we're doing SME again, but this time we are allies.
Your allies. Oh, that's probably a favor toward you guys. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck. We're looking forward to seeing you next week, playing Compañía Malditas on SME Allies. Again, it was a pleasure having you on.
Oh, the pleasure was mine, my man.
All right, there you have it. Colonel Matthews from 10th Mountain.
Over here in Division 3, we had Merciless versus 250 Hellbees. Joining us today, we have Merciless's Compton. Welcome and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the recap.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably should go focus on something else, but there we go. Votoms comes in with the AT rocket. Oh no. Let's see, look at the map. Supply truck coming in. Kind of curious where this is going to head. Compton.
All right. So my first question is, after the initial cap, how do you feel about your team's transition into the next phase of battle?
After taking the first cap, we just basically spread out and created a front line. I was really comfortable with it. We were setting up because it's an open field battle, so we weren't really going to pressure them right off the bat. We were just going to set up our defenses and then start initial attack. But I felt good about it.
Oh, good, good. All right. Let's go ahead and
I'm gonna
click
give you the
play on
time
the
of
video
day
here and
see what you're able to do. If you're able to sneak around to the back line, our Bonsai is going to hear that faint supply truck sound. Will he hear it? Will he hear it? Oh my gosh, he's not going to hear it. Oh my gosh, he's not going to hear it. That Gary's going to go up right front door. Oh my gosh. What a play. Bonsai is going to need to lock that Gary here. Will there be a spawn wave? Bonsai sneaks up. Oh, spawn wave comes in. One goes down, two goes down.
Got him.
And we're seeing, oh my gosh, there's the spawn wave we're looking for, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's the bold plays we need in this.
all right. So moments before this flanking maneuver took place, the center had changed hands several times. How caught off guard were you by that? And how much do you think that exchange contributed to this garrison being established?
So we lost the center only once. And the reason why was because our center squad decided to flex north and south, and we left the center exposed a little bit. We got a little too confident on that end, but we were able to pretty much sandwich them from the north and the south and recapture. We weren't that panicky about it. As soon as we captured, I noticed that they were full throttle on the attack. They thought they could retake it, so I decided to take a supply truck and try to do a flanking maneuver, which
And it absolutely paid off. It absolutely paid off.
it did, because as soon as I put that Gary, I got on the truck and I noticed I got spotted. So I continued to drive, acting like I didn't drop anything, and I noticed that their MG was shooting at me. So I decided to draw them back to the back line and make it seem like, I was trying to get a Gary in the back line, and I had not gotten a Gary in the front line, in which it paid off and it worked. We were able
It
to
was
take the
a
fourth point.
beautiful play. Beautiful play. All right, go ahead and
Definitely
move
was.
on
Game.
to the next section.
Amazing. A rogue supply truck play by the commander, leaking the security, and wham bam shabambo, you have yourself a 4th point cap pressure from Chapel all the way to Sunken Bridge. Bombing run's coming in, but this is going to be, fortunately, it's just not going to work out. Turkleton barely gets tickled by the bombing run. Merc just got to stay in the circle, guys. Just stay in that circle. Just stay in the circle, for the love of God. Just stay in the circle. Oh, please, just stay in the circle. I'd stay in the circle. And there we go. 4-1 to the Allies now.
Okay, so after capping the 4th point, the enemy team nearly took it back from you. How much concern was there that you could be rolled back in the last few minutes?
There was some concern, but not that much. What we told the infantry that was holding the 4th point, we told them to hold out. We had 3 tanks coming in to reinforce the point, so we just told them hold out till the tanks get there, and then we'll be solidified to hold that point. We did have myself and 2 other squad leads go to Chapel just in case they did cap the 4th point. We saw that they were ready to try to steamroll us to take the 3rd point, so we acted accordingly to that, and we were ready to counter that if they did try to do that.
All that hard training really paid off out there.
It definitely did. It definitely did. The boys are doing good so far, and we're happy to be in this upper tier now and facing these teams, and I think we got a good shot at it.
All right, so now that you have secured your first victory, how do you feel moving forward?
I think we feel confident. We feel good. I mean, I think the teams that we're facing, they're good teams. They're definitely good teams, and we cannot sleep on them. But I feel the guys feel really confident, and they feel they can repeat a championship again back to back. So I mean, we're happy to face any team that comes on.
All right. Well, you guys looked great out there, and I appreciate you spending some time talking with me tonight, Compton.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys inviting me to this.
All right. Take care.
You guys.
Moving on to Division 2, we had The Line up against Snow Leopard Knights. We have with us Mr. Nitro from TL. Mr. Nitro, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be here today.
All right. Well, I have a couple questions for you, so let's go ahead and start with the recap. Most of that squad out in the east has now been taken down, and they still got their spawn out there. Nobody's pushed out and stopped that, but there is the cap for The Line. Smoke's coming down. Now that's got to be TL's artillery dropping smokes on them. So, my first question for you is, how did you feel about your opener, and did it go as planned?
Overall, I thought we felt pretty good about that. You know, we were very excited to take SLK to Foy. I think it's a map that we feel very comfortable on. We have a lot of experience as a team on this map. And so when it came time to opener and it was time to go after Southern Edge, we had a plan and we executed it fairly well, I would say. You know, we wanted to obviously stack hard cap, but you also want to get a lot of infantry in the village going up into the Foy area. So I think we did a pretty good job keeping up that pressure and maintaining a good presence in hard cap. And it paid off. We got the cap, and we had pretty good control over that for a while.
All right. Well, you guys looked good. You looked good. So go ahead and move on to the next segment of the video. 6-6 coming in from the northwest. 16 from the north. Big spawning. They got a garrison right there. Oh, it's an airhead. They got the airhead right in there. They're starting to cap. Oh my goodness, TL's starting to cap on Foy right now. SLK has a flare up. They are aware that there's a lot of TL guys in this area. They're starting to fall back. They're reacting to it. They're seeing the cap. I can hear one of the tanks coming now. Just driving straight in there, trying as hard as he can to stop the cap. You can see the SLK is coming down really hard from the northwest. Maybe cutting off that airhead. They've stopped the cap. They're pulling it back. TL is in a pretty desperate... All right, so my next question is, this airhead was kind of a hot drop. Do you feel that it was a good drop location, even though the attack failed?
Yeah, I do. I think, you know, with airheads, a lot of people tend to use them in kind of a last-ditch effort. You know, there's a couple minutes left in the game. You want to try some sort of last-minute push. In this case, though, we already had kind of a good presence there in Foy. We had two OPs that already had squads attacking the next point. And the airhead location was, you know, right in that backyard and next to the OP. So we had people there defending it. We felt pretty comfortable about that specific location. And I think even though we didn't necessarily secure the point there, it paid off for us because we kept up the pressure on the fourth point and we didn't really lose any of our defense while we did that attack. So in our eyes, if we can kind of put that pressure for free with that airhead while still maintaining pretty good defense, in our eyes, that's a win. You know, it keeps SLK away from our hard cap, puts them back to their end of the map. And that's really what we're looking for an airhead like that. Not necessarily to secure the cap, but just to give us a little bit more of a cushion here in the firefight.
Yes. All right. So that it did look really very promising too. So it was a great attempt. And as of course, you know, when you keep the aggression on, you get to dictate the flow of battle. So that's really important.
Right.
Moving on to my next question. SLK had punched holes in the center several times, most notably when the double tigers were in the front door. How desperate did that maneuver with the Stuart and the precision strike feel at that time?
Well, it certainly looked cool on stream. I will say that. Getting the Stuart behind the two tigers and then kind of comboing that with the P-strike definitely felt great. But it really was an intense moment. I wouldn't say it felt super desperate, but they definitely did put some pressure on us at that time. You know, I think we managed to get the Stuart behind, which obviously is a very clutch play. Obviously, having the P-strike in the back of our pocket was lucky to have. But yes. I want to say, just because of our overall map positioning and our map control at that time, even if we didn't necessarily take out those 2 Tigers right then and there, I still feel like we had pretty comfortable control of our flanks, and we had crossfires set up. And so while it may look a little bit scary seeing those 2 Tigers, kind of knocking on the front
Yes, of
door on
course.
Southern Edge, I think as a team we know that as long as we have that map control, we can take care of it eventually. You get ATs, we can set up AT guns. In this case, we
Yes.
happen to have the P-Strike. We had a Steward available
was-
to kind of take care of it.
It was a very tense moment. I'll give you that.
Oh,
it
yeah.
I was on the seat of my pants the whole time. All right.
Yeah.
So my final question for you is: now that you have secured your first victory, how do you feel moving forward?
I think we're feeling pretty good. APL is a great tournament because you get so much of a variety in teams. And I think we're excited to be in the division that we're in. There are a lot of great teams that we're going up against. Chimera is a team that TL has played time and time again throughout our history. We have teams like W3, FJ. Obviously, we just played SLK as well, who we have faced in the past. So I think it's nice to be playing with teams that we're familiar with. And I think we're feeling pretty confident about the rest of our schedule. It's by no means going to be an easy road to the playoffs per se, but I think we as a team we're up for the good fights, and I think we have a lot of those coming up in the next couple of weeks. We don't have a game this week; we have a bye, so we'll be taking some time to do some practice and get some scrims in. But overall, we're very excited for our next matchup.
All right. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck, and I really appreciate you taking your time to speak with us tonight.
No, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right. And with that, finally, the moment we have all been waiting for, Division 1.
All right, wrapping up this week's highlights in Division 1, we have the 2-time defending APL champs, Esprit de Corps, and they took on Helios on Foy Night, which was cast by yours truly. Joining us now, we have team representative and in-game field general, Mr. Excel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, man, pleasure having you on. Let's just get right into it. I know we got a couple questions for you about last week's match, and we were just talking about prep and then the importance of that and the lead up and how important it is to execute that and how it impacts, the outcome of the match. So talk a little bit about your opener and what you liked.
Yeah, certainly. So for our opener, usually what we do to start off with is we watch other VODs, as many as we can, of all the points played on that specific map that we're playing. From there, we map out, all the cheese, all the snipes, see what will work, what won't work, and then from there we kind of build up how our opener has to be, where we need to put people, and then just kind of build it out from there, where the tanks need to go, the infantry need to go, so that everyone knows their job at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, and we talked about this a couple days prior to the match, and you were saying, there's going to be snipes, and sure enough, it worked in your favor. Now, I didn't catch the person who got the snipe on the transport, but maybe you remember. Shout that guy out.
Yeah, that'll be our boy Mikey.
Shout out to you, Mikey. Great job on that. That was honestly for me a difference maker. It was on map edge by the train tracks, and that took out like a bulk of their infantry, made the cap somewhat easy for you guys. You took it relatively uncontested. So shout out to you and guys for all the prep that you did on that. Now, but I will say this: there was a moment where there was a little bit of uneasiness. We'll say right around the 1 hour mark, and there was an airhead that was dropped along with a tank moving up at the same time. And these guys, the Helios group, was able to get 3 or 4 spawns off and actually capture the point about a third of the way. So my question to you is, what was it like? What were you guys thinking, given the amount of information that you had at the time?
Yeah, definitely. Around that time, we were starting to really break through on the west side of the map. We had broken through West Bend. We were starting to challenge that 2-story in the bottom left of F7, I think it is.
And the fourth point being Bizary Foy, just so people
yeah.
at home know.
And we were just really starting to break through and wrap them and really, maybe challenge their fourth point. And at that time as well, our Artie player started splashing a garrison that had been marked behind them, and they really took advantage of it, started pushing, their SLs through, getting their spawns up, and at the same time their tank pushed in, they dropped the airhead in. We should have reacted a little bit faster, but they were pretty well bottled in. It wasn't super threatening. and we were able to react in time. You know, we knew they were pushing up. Our arty came back. Our infantry started spawning back. So, a little bit of a you know, a hard stop in the match, but we were able to react pretty well.
You know, honestly, that's what you guys do well. You just react very well to situations. You know, you being the field general had the call out. You just filtered guys back into that defensive point, and you did what you always do. You clean it up, make it look good. But anyway, going forward, we've got matches coming up this week against Gary Busters International, no longer incorporated. You have the details on that, and maybe a little bit about what you expect to see out of them.
Yeah, that's going to be Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time for match start. So the stream's going to start showing at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be Carentan, us playing as allies, them playing as Axis. Carentan is a really fun match to play and really exciting because there's so many ways to get into points, get around them. So GBI always brings their best game plan. So that's going to be really exciting and pretty tough match.
Well, if I remember correctly, Carentan's been very good to you guys. And won a couple championships on that. But anyway, best of luck in the upcoming week, and I hope to have you back again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care. All right, Goom, let's move into the upcoming matches for this weekend, shall we?
All right, let's do it, Guderian. Coming up next week, we have in Division 1, the North American team Esprit de Corps versus the Australian-New Zealand team Gary Busters. That match will be taking place Saturday, September 14th at 10 p.m. and will take place on Carentan. The caster is going to be Angelo de la Muerte. We also have the North American team Syndicate versus Infiltration, which is a Chinese team. That is taking place Saturday, September 14th at 11 p.m. on Omaha Beach. And the caster will be Guderian.
Moving on to Division 2, we've got the Snow Leopard Knights, a Chinese team taking on Chimera, an Australian team, Saturday, September 14th at 6 a.m. So set an early alarm clock for that one, and the map will be on Omaha Beach. Your caster will be Bueno. The second and the final match in Division 2 will be a matchup of two Chinese teams. We've got the Winter Wind taking on Fallschirmjäger. Both, like I said, Chinese teams. Saturday, September 14th at 10 p.m. Map SMDM, St. Marie Dumont, and your caster will be Wix.
Moving on after that, we have Division 3 with the North American team Bad Intentions plus the Old Guard versus 250 Hellbees, a Spanish team. That's taking place Sunday, September 15th at 3:30 p.m. on Utah Beach, and the casters are going to be Axehawk in English and Saint Pepsi 94 in Spanish. After that, we have the Furious Frogs, a French team, versus Rangers of the North plus Chad Stewart's Flare Gun Friends, a North American team. That's taking place Saturday, September 14th at 3 p.m. on Saint Marie Dumont, and the casters will be City from North America and Le Rem from France. We also have Merciless versus Vanguarda, a North American team versus a Brazilian team. There is going to be taking place Saturday, September 14th at 9:30 p.m. on St. Mary-Glise, and the casters will be Soprano in English and Dias Barbosa in Portuguese.
And finishing it up, we have Division 4, starting with the 10th Mountain Division, North American team taking on La Compañía Maldita, a Spanish team, Saturday, September 14th. Time is 5:30 p.m. Map will be St. Mary-Glise. Casters will be Smithers in English, and the other caster will be Sultan in Spanish. Then we go on to the Lucky Strikes, taking on the team from Brazil, Cobra Fumantes, Sunday, September 15th at 3:30 p.m. Your caster's English will be Jig, and your other caster will be Dias Barbosa, and he will be casting in Portuguese. Then we move on to Odyssey, a North American team taking on Condor Legion, a Brazilian team, September 15th at 7 p.m. Carentan will be your map, with your caster being Buttery Bits. And our final and which is the 11th match of the week, busy schedule. We've got Ronin from Brazil taking on Hellfire, North American team, Saturday, September 14th at 8 p.m. The map will be Hurricane Forest, and your caster will be yours truly right over here, Mr. Goom Train. So now you have it. Schedule set, matches all ready to go, and we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. So Before we go, I would like to thank everybody from the Orga that's put all their time in, especially Lieutenant Bill from 10th Mountain, who's put together the sheets so that we can get the live stats. Thank you for that, sir. Velo, again, for getting us a sponsorship with Quanzer, and Quanzer, of course, donating the 5 servers for us. That was a big bonus. Axe Hawk, the guy behind the scenes that you're seeing right here with all these amazing graphics. He's also the technical wizard of all things. I mean, he gets everything done. He's helped me a bunch. He's helped everyone pretty much on the entire casting team. So shout out to him. Also, Soprano for managing and scheduling all the matches with the casters. A big job organizing and getting all that together with the time zones and such. And finally, we want to thank you, the audience, right, for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. So, with that being said, from all of us here at the APL Insider, Goomtrain and I look forward to seeing you next week. Darian signing off.
Welcome to the APL Insider. Here we'll be breaking down all the plays. Yourselves could carry in the Goombo train. Then we'll be breaking down all the plays.